Now it's time for Whispers, your number one source for all things paranormal, with your hosts Jordan Klein and Nick Queen, and produced by the lovely Lola Miller. Whispers is brought to you by West Virginia Penitentiary Tours. At the West Virginia State Penitentiary in Moundsville, unforgettable, historical, educational.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Whispers Radio on AM 1600 WKKX, the Valley's Watchdog, and UPRN, the UFO Paranormal Radio Network. It is 6:09 p.m. here in downtown Wheeling. I couldn't tell you the degrees because I'm inside the lovely Market House Grill on Kruger Street in Elm Grove. Okay, apparently Nick knows the temperature.
39.
Okay, now I'm turning you back off. 39 degrees. Lola, you there?
Yes, dears.
I like being able to turn him off. I love...
I knew this would somehow appeal to the more juvenile side of your nature, but, you know.
Whatever pleases me,
floats your
right?
boat. Yeah.
Lola, I miss you.
I miss you guys. It's weird to be in here all by myself.
I know, I haven't seen you in 2 weeks.
Oh, and I have a surprise.
Oh, what's that?
Well,
let me guess. Can I guess?
Oh, go ahead.
What do I get if I guess
told
it?
you.
What if I get
You get a prize. I don't know.
Can I get 2 guesses?
You already listened today.
You
already heard it.
Did you get a new dog?
No, not yet. No, not a new dog.
Okay, you're a girl and you're excited. You got a haircut.
Yes, I got a haircut.
I
And we're getting a bird.
You're getting a bird?
A parakeet.
Oh, one of them.
Is going to be named
Are you turning into Todd Jeffers?
Oh gosh, no. This is a
What-
parakeet.
Oh, he had
don't
a toucan
talk.
or something?
No, he had what did he have? A parrot and two parrots. or
All I
something.
remember is people telling me that it would eat off of his head.
Oh, it would eat off everything, and it would poop down his back and everything else. But no, this is a tiny little parakeet, all yellow. We're gonna name it Lemon Meringue.
You're not naming it Tweety? How can you have a tiny little yellow bird and not name it Tweety?
Then get a black
You know,
cat
I
and name it
didn't
Sylvester.
I didn't even. Well, and we were looking at a black cat.
See?
Sunday too, a black and
You're
white
you're
kitty.
missing a golden opportunity. We're giving you gems here, Lola.
Yeah, I know. Tweety, that is a good name. Perhaps we will call him, because I've got a figure, an idea that Tigger is going to look like Sylvester at some point, clinging onto the cage.
Oh,
you know?
really?
Yeah, it should be an adventure, but yeah, that's my big news. My big news.
Hey, you know what? I love the
What?
news. It's great. Congratulations. You're going to have to send us some pictures of the new hair.
Do you have dreadlocks?
There we
I
go.
don't have dreads. No.
It's been 2 weeks. You could have got into the bad element at the radio station. We don't know.
That's true.
Now,
That's true.
your
These
boyfriend
bad
Riley
influences.
Martin might
Yeah.
like the dreads.
No, that's true.
Oak
but
on
no,
Tangent
I didn't.
One.
It's just shorter. It's just
My
shorter.
dear Lola.
Uh-huh. yeah. Mm-hmm.
We have the manager here at Market House wondering what the heck. Some guy was just, macking on Lola so much. And it was, Lola was turning red.
She was as red as Nick's shirt is right
Yeah,
now.
and she just ate it all up.
Oh yeah.
She was going to
Oh,
move to the south.
a man that has been abducted by aliens and is living on a space. Yeah.
You could go live with him on the spaceship.
No, that's okay. I'm supposed to be
Meet the
glad
hybrids.
that- Yeah.
Have
yeah.
you sent him the info to get your
No,
symbol
I
yet?
haven't. My computer at
Oh,
home.
is that the reason you haven't written any blogs yet either? You have a
Yes.
solid fan base out there wanting to know what the lovely Lola Miller is doing, and they
That's
check you all the
scary.
time. And you know what it says? We had a good show in August.
I know. I just, you know how I am. You know how.
We got this email here. Where was it? It was one of the bands.
Oh yes.
Yeah, we
We
got
don't
like a
have
bunch of
any
bands
bands.
finally writing us in after I said, "Why hasn't anybody written us?" I
Well,
can't
you'll
find
be
it.
back here next week, right?
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
so we'll have
be
a
back
band
there.
next week.
Okay.
I got to figure out a time I can go there and meet you to get the stuff, because me having the music doesn't really help.
Yeah, it says Lola and crew. So, so everybody knows Lola, and Jordan's the only one that writes his blog, anyways.
Really?
He's,
Yeah. You know
Yeah.
what?
My computer, all right, this is an example of what I deal with if I try and get on there. You have to turn it off and start over every single time. You can't leave it in sleep. You can't leave it in hibernate. You have to shut it all down. Then you finally get it to come up. You have to close out all these weird pop-up windows that it's trying to install weird things that I don't even know where any of that came from. Then you finally get into like my Yahoo page, try and get in bookmarks, won't let you do that. Finally get on a website, freezes up,
Well, see,
close it all down, start the whole...
What you're not taking advantage of, Lola, is that Nick used to be IT guy. So every time you got a problem, you can call Nick up, and then he can be the one go, did you turn it off? Did you plug it in?
Well, I've done all that. So it needs.
He can even use an Indian accent too. I mean, if need be, he could be like.
So I feel right at home.
He'd be like, "Have you done this yet?" I don't know. I can't.
Part of our training.
Yeah. It sounds Pakistani. I get it. Yeah, I should just get. But somebody told me it just needs everything saved that I want to save on it, and then it just needs to be wiped because it's got a bug somewhere, a virus. Although I've done
That's awesome.
all the virus scans and all that kind of stuff, and it updates all the warnings, but it's terrible. That's absolutely terrible.
I'm telling you, Nick can fix that stuff.
Okay. Now I'll bring it in next week, and he can actually take it home with him.
All right.
Because this is Linda had to come in with me tonight so she could just do her taxes, because we don't have a computer at home. Anyway, talk amongst yourselves. I'm going to get Daryl on the phone.
All right, I want to remind everybody right now that we are live at the Market House in Elm Grove on Kruger Street. Come out and see us. They're doing a Whisper special. I don't know if you've heard the awesome commercial that I'm reading. Sorry, I get to do a commercial. I like it. Anyway, Monday nights while we're here from 6 to 9. Nick, you don't want to talk? Okay. We got a bucket of beer and a pound of wings for $10. That's right. JT, you're here with us. What is a bucket of beer?
A bucket of beer is 4 beers.
4 beers?
Yep, 4 beers, 8 wings for $10.
Not bad. And also have $1 domestics and $2 well drinks.
Correct.
And that is from 6 to 9 tonight. We're here from 6 to 8, so come on down. Come and see us. It's a party. It's always a party when Nick's around.
That's right.
I'm sorry.
That's all you ever let me do. I have to I have to think of a pithy line. You hit the button, I say it, and then you click me off.
You're definitely a one-timer.
I tell you.
See, if you give Nick any more than that, he'll just start rambling about something.
I have to say,
nobody knows what he's talking about.
I'm tired because Jordan's went to give blood today, and after that, he's been the loopiest person in the world, and I'm wore out.
They might have took too much from me. I don't know.
We were trying to get out in the traffic. He's singing "Let the Bodies Hit the Floor" or something. Swerves out in the middle. There's trucks coming, and I'm like, Jordan. He's like, let Daddy drive. Shut up, Grandma. And I'm like, oh my God, we're gonna die. I'm wore out.
You see what I have to put up with?
And then we get here. He's like, oh, I forgot something, and he left. 10 minutes left before the show.
I made it here.
Yeah, he's probably killed 3 people on the way.
Hey, you know what? They'll be able to be on our show after that. Right? Is that how we work, Lola?
Only if I see them.
This is why I should have control of the board. Yeah. Oh. All right.
Lola, did you go out and give blood today?
No, I did not.
Why not?
Because they can't find a vein ever big enough to take
really?
blood out of. Mm-hmm.
You got the slender, the sexy lady veins?
Lisa has that
yes,
problem.
I do. Mm-hmm.
See, I have like one vein they take from, and they hit me on the same exact spot every time. It looks like I'm a heroin addict or something. Like I have these like dots like all over this one vein.
You have been twitching.
Uh-oh.
You hear that?
His nose starts running. Y'all better clear out.
He was sniffing earlier a lot.
Oh, jeez. All right, everybody, the number's here, 304-214-1600. If you're out of the area, 1-866-514-1600. We got a fun show tonight. We hope everybody calls out, participates, all that kind of good stuff. There's a lot of noise coming from Nick's headphones. Sorry, Lo.
Headphones?
Well,
Are
time...
you guys sounding... Oh, he's just picking up a lot of
the
way
he's
the mic is
picking up everything. He's real strong.
Yeah, the back. We have our guest. Nikki, please set it up.
Set what?
The guest.
Okay, fine. Jeez.
Oh, my gosh. Do your job.
No one ever. All right, Darren Evans has been researching what he calls the Zozo Ouija phenomenon. I'm hoping to say Zozo right, but there's not many ways to say it, I guess. As a teenager, Darren spent a lot of time using a Ouija board. His most frequent contact was a spirit, and it called itself Zozo. He described it as nasty and powerful, and the source of many of his homes being haunted as a child. Darren, are you with us?
Yes.
Can you turn that up?
I'm here, Nick.
Okay, I can hear you. We're just getting you turned up a little bit.
Sure.
Yeah, they're on a remote. They're being fed. I'm back in the studio eating peanut butter cookies.
Hey,
We're getting it situated.
yeah, sorry about that.
No problem.
Now, we got to ask. First off, how do you pronounce it? Is it
Zozo.
Zozo?
Correct.
All right.
Now, I have to ask this first because when I was researching this, I ran across, and of course a lot of people are going to be familiar with it, Pazuzu, which was the demon from The Exorcist. Now,
Actually, that's Pazuzu.
Pazuzu, okay. Now, is there any connection at all? I mean, it does sound kind of familiar. I have to ask that before we move on, I guess.
I've been researching that. There seems to be a connection to that, as on some websites I've read that Pazuzu is often referred to as Zozo. However, I think them to be totally different entities myself.
Okay, so and I know because I kind of from reading that that this was a king of the demons of the wind in Assyrian and Babylonian mythology. Is there any connection in things he's said or his or what he tries to do when he manifests to that? I mean, because he was known for bringing famine during dry seasons. So I mean, almost attacking kind of the substance or resources of the Babylonians.
There does seem to be a parallel connection, especially Pazuzu was made famous, of course, in the film The Exorcist when it possessed a young girl.
Uh-huh.
I did discover on a French website that Zozo was one of the entities that possessed a young girl in 1816, which was a very disturbing case, along with two other spirits, which strangely enough made her crawl on all fours, similar to the spider walk in the movie The Exorcist.
That's really crazy.
Now,
what I've found, Zozo often has a tendency to have a sexual interest in young females, and I'm corresponding with quite a few that is indeed the case, where it has an attraction to females similar to an incubus, and it's very disturbing, the parallelity between Pazuzu and Zozo, and the fact that it does like to cause these manifestations and hauntings with these young girls.
Now that's crazy. We were talking last week about incubuses, and Lola's. Is she there? Lola, you
yes,
still?
I'm here, and if you say what I think you're
Okay,
going to say.
I won't. Never mind.
All right. He
Now-
was going to say that I want an incubus to come and visit me, and that is not true.
Now, Darren, I got to ask you, how did you get into this? How did you, I guess, filter out everything else that might come through the Ouija board and find Zozo? And I mean, what's the connection that you have with him?
Well, I'll be honest with you. When I was a teenager, right now I'm 41. Back in the 80s, as a young teenager, I was interested in the occult, and I got pretty into Ouija board sessions with my ex-wife, which was my fiance at the time. Her mother was a Wicca witch, and we always studied the paranormal. And every time we would use the board, this one particular spirit would manifest itself, and that's when the paranormal activity started. Evidently, I opened a door. And back then, I didn't know anything about cleansing rituals or how to close the board or anything. And so basically, this thing followed me around for 20-something years. And every time I would use the board, I used to be a storm chaser, and every time I'd travel along the country and a board happened to come up and everything, it would always be the same spirit. And so that's what I thought to be very bizarre back then. And then 2 years ago, when I Googled Zozo Ouija, I saw stories of other people that have very similar accounts and hauntings associated with Zozo.
Crazy thing just happened. You started talking about Zozo, and we got the weirdest noise that came through our headset. We all like looked at each other and went, "Oh my gosh, we're done." Now,
well, there's a lot of theories. They say that just the mere pronouncement of the word can cause it to manifest in your subconscious, and I'm actually studying that now. However, I used to be really fearful of this thing, and
so what you're saying is we're screwed, right?
No, that's. I think it all depends on the individual and their creativity, their imagination, and just like thought forms and poltergeists are caused by human beings.
We're screwed.
I do believe that's just one of the levels of this type of thing. But right now, I'm just concerned with the amount of people that's coming into contact with this entity.
Now, I want to ask you how you keep yourself safe. I mean, we're talking demons, and you said a demon that has possessed a girl that made her walk around and did the spider walk. Now, how do you keep yourself from that, or does Zuzu go in and out of you? Do you have any kind of connection with it? Do you become? Can we talk to Zozo? That kind of.
I believe that there's three levels of a demonic haunting, and one is the hovering demon, the surface demon, as well as the demon that actually comes inside you. And I think that those are that all three of those levels come into play during a possession. As far as me being safe from this thing, I do sense its presence sometimes, especially when I'm researching it and that kind of thing. But I don't mess with boards anymore, and it's one of the goals on my side is to deter people from messing with Ouija boards.
Really?
Because especially now that Hasbro bought the Ouija board from Parker Brothers, they're coming out with these new Ouija board movies and everything, and with the explosion of the paranormal TV shows, there's a lot more interest in this type of stuff, and so I'm really trying to spread the word out there that this thing's dangerous. You need to stay away from it.
Now, do you use a Ouija board still at all?
No, not at all.
Okay. Now, when did you stop using the Ouija board?
About a year ago.
About a year ago. Okay. So now, you say here you started, as a teenager. About how old were you again when you first started using it?
15 years old when I first started.
15, and I hate to ask now, but how old are you now?
41.
41. Okay, so you've been using it for 35 years. What brought it up? What happened to bring you about saying, okay, that's it, I'm not doing it anymore?
When it began to attack my family members is when I really set it down and promised not to do it anymore. It told me one time that I was actually working on a musician project, and I asked the board what the name of the band should be, and it started. It said Iron Tongue, and which I thought was pretty crazy at the time.
Yeah.
And then a couple of days later, my little daughter was hospitalized with a nasty infection in her mouth, and her tongue was hanging grotesquely from her face.
I just got chills. No lie.
Wanted to devour souls. It wanted to devour my family's souls.
Oh my gosh.
It wanted to take them to paradise, which was always hell. And then my ex-girlfriend become attached to it as far as her whole entire demeanor changed. There was things going around in the house, a lot of paranormal activity, and so I basically decided then that I've had enough. I'm not going to mess with it anymore, and that's when I quit actually physically using the boards.
Now, did you get any kind of repercussion? Did it lash out at you anymore when you decided to quit?
I'd have pictures fall off walls, and it was not until I used religious, provocation that it actually that I sensed that there wasn't a presence anymore. And again, these emails that I receive from people that mess with these boards, they come across Ozo, they Google it, they find my website, they find my email address, and they contact me. My emails are filled with these, similar stories of these hauntings with a lot of the same characteristics, and that's another reason why I put the site up to try to help these people overcome it. I actually had a woman that drove all the way from the East Coast to Oklahoma who claimed she was raped twice by this Ozo.
Oh my gosh!
So I helped her overcome that situation, and I basically, I direct them on to tell them, to contact their clergy or their ministers or whatever to get rid of the manifestation.
You guys, who was the guest that we had on? And I have to forgive me, Darren. I can't remember names hardly ever, but that was exactly the opposite. He had been doing a lot of Ouija investigation.
Robert Murch.
Yeah, and he claims that there's nothing to any of these stories because, growing up, of course, most of us messed with a Ouija board at one point or another. But a long time ago, even before I started doing this show, I stopped using it because I'd heard the stories about it being perhaps a portal or a door, and I thought, no, I'm not gonna run the risk.
Okay. With the advent of this paranormal explosion, as I call it, everybody is turned into a demonologist. Everybody's turned into a ghost hunter. So, the more people get in this type of thing, the more theories they're going to have, based on my personal experience. Now, again, I think that's the best proof of any paranormal activity is not crop circles, it's not Bloody Mary, it's not the urban legends, it's your own personal experience.
Yeah.
And that's what causes me to know that this is a real thing, this is a real deal, and I've committed myself to warning people about it.
Well, I'm glad you're doing that service since you have firsthand knowledge. It's certainly more credible to hear it from you, from someone that has had really bad experiences and has managed to kind of keep them at bay now.
And again, I'd like to point out that I was on a radio show a couple of weeks ago discussing this phenomena, and it caught the wind of the godfather of the paranormal, John Zaffis. And he went on the same show a week later, and he said it took him 48 hours to mull this over and to decide to actually talk about this phenomena. He said he's been aware of it for many years, and he also said that he's directly involved in 3 separate Zozo hauntings.
Really?
I found very, I thought it would just be a matter of time before people would, this would actually become a noteworthy situation, and it has. And now that he's investigating these Zozo hauntings, I think it's just a matter of time before we start really hearing about this thing, on a much broader basis.
Well, I'm glad because I think this is something that really needs to be out there. It's one thing for people that walk into using one, knowing what the risks are, and going ahead and saying, well, you know what, I'm going to throw caution to the wind and to heck with it. And it's another thing for these particularly young, impressionable, I would think easily stolen souls to be messing with these things, not know what they're doing, not having any kind of protection religiously, and Lord knows what could happen to them.
Absolutely. And again, my own personal experience, I mean, I'm going to refer to it as Z. I'm more comfortable in that terminology.
Don't blame you.
Okay.
When Z would come to me, he would actually try to get me to pronunciate certain words, and I'm finding bizarre coincidences in the emails that I'm getting from people that claim to have contact with this Z. For instance, I'm reading an email now where it says, and I told her to use Z as well. It says mostly Z was interested in telling me of her future and how he tried teaching her a weird language. She claims that he comes as a fox and a black cat. She says that this Z stalks the neighborhood as a shadow figure and stares at people from behind her house. And the stories go on, and usually again, these people that become fascinated by this Z are women and girls. And again, due to my own personal experience and of actually, when I used to use the board, someone would have to stand above it with pencil and paper and actually write down, because it would go so fast and it would abbreviate words that we couldn't understand what it was saying half the time, so we would have to log it. And again, this thing's very powerful. It has the ability to read minds. It's just a very, very dangerous thing.
Well, I like Lola said before, I'm really glad that you are out here telling people against it, because so many people, and like you said, the paranormal is really big right now, and with so many people saying, oh, well, it's just fun, it's just a game, go try it, it's nothing bad, it won't let you, it's like a telephone, and it's not going to possess you. And then you're saying, listen, it's bad, I have proof it's bad, it tried to hurt my daughter, it's tried to hurt my family. I think it's just great to hear somebody be honest about it.
Yeah.
Hey, Lola, we ready for a break?
Give me 30 seconds here.
Okay. And I really want to... Nick, you got a question?
Well, I was going to say, when we come back, I'd like to talk about... that way you can kind of get ready. Because I noticed on your website a lot of different, like, advertising, and I'll show Jordan some of these, that you're saying that have the Z kind of almost like subliminally put into them to some degree. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I believe that the Z is significant because he also has many, or few alter egos that he uses. For instance, Zaza is also found in many stories about Zaza. Equally as powerful and equally, there's hauntings with Zaza as well, and I believe that's one of his alter egos.
Okay,
Really?
so,
Okay.
yeah, that's okay.
Definitely want to get into that after the break. You ready, Lo?
Yes, I am.
All right, you are listening to Whispers Radio live at the Market House Grill. Come out and see us. It's on Kruger Street in Elm Grove. We will be right back. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Whispers Radio on AM 1600 WKKX, the Valley's Watchdog, and UPRN, the UFO Paranormal Radio Network. It is 6:38 p.m. We are live at the Market House Grill here in Elm Grove. I want to tell you now, we got a Whispers special. It is a bucket of beer and a pound of wings for $10, $1 domestics and $2 well drinks. Come on out. Get something to drink, get you some wings. The wings here are really good. You can also drink some Coca-Cola for those of you that do not drink, because let me tell you what, I'm drinking Coca-Cola. It is delicious. So is my friend Barb, who's down there at the table. She's waving her hands like crazy. If you want to give us a call, it's 304-214-1600. If you're out of the area, 1-866-514-1600. That's toll free. And our guest tonight is Mr. Darren Evans. He is talking about Ouija boards, how they are bad, and a demon that he has personally come in contact with that has harmed him and his family. Darren, you still with us?
Yes, sir.
You there, George?
Yeah, I'm still here.
I'm sorry, he's trying to push buttons. So now
That gets scary when he starts trying to push buttons.
he doesn't even know it. He's just pushing everything on the board. Smoke's coming out of the back of it. It's fine, though.
Well, I just want to tell you guys, I've got the dog here with me tonight. And Darren, I know you don't know this, but we have some spirits here in the building. And particularly back by the bathroom. Tonight, she will not go past the door jamb of the bathroom.
Oh, wow.
And she is barking at the weirdest. She's just running through here. And she's usually really good when she's here. So I think the spirits are kind of active in here tonight.
Now, see, Lola, and right now I'm feeling sorry for you in the aspect that, when Darren was telling the story about the iron tongue, my whole, I had goosebumps all over my back,
I know.
all up my back, all up my, back of my neck. And I can only imagine what it's like there being you all alone in a haunted
Yeah, and then having the dog bark
area
like crazy.
with the dog freaking out.
What is the name of your website, Darren?
Well, the easy way to get there is if you just simply type in the keywords Ouija Zozo. I'm all over the place on the internet, researching this stuff. The actual name of the name of the website is zozotheouijaspirit.blogspot.com.
Oh, okay. I saw that, but I didn't know that it was the blog. I thought that was just all blog. But okay.
Our friend Lola there is confused about what a blog is.
Just because I don't write on mine.
We'll beat it out over Darren. Don't
mean
worry.
That I don't know what it is.
Now, before
the break,
okay, go ahead.
Back into, as you guys were asking me about the letter Z and its significance,
yeah.
I'd like to point out that the letter Z was a dreaded letter in European history. It was actually pronounced Z, not Z as it is in the United States. And Gematria points out that Z rhymes with dead, and that kind of signifies what I believe that Zozo has never lived as a human on Earth, along with John Zaffis. He actually believes that, as opposed to it being classified as a demon, that it's an actual deity that predates Judeo-Christianity beliefs. Of course, in certain parts of England, the Z is pronounced Izzard, which I believe has esoteric significance, because a lot of people are claiming that the Zozo appears to them as a reptilian. Shakespeare was quoted as calling the letter Z, "Thou horse on Z, thou unnecessary letter." There's an old, I believe it's named Roland Barthes, has written an account of an old novel, I believe it's Saracen, which mentions a book called S/Z. The Z falls through a trap door. It cuts. It strikes out. It's the letter of defiance, the wound of lack. And there's also been a lot of writings that the S and Z are an inverted graphic relationship, which brings us to the Led Zeppelin connection and his Zoso symbol. There is an inverted graphic relationship. It's the letters, same letter seen from the other side of the mirror. So there is some spooky stuff with the letter Z that I've been researching. A lot of these historic documents go on to read that the Z is mysterious, it's dangerous, it's the letter of the zigzag, the source of uncertainty, the evil double, violence within itself inscribed within words, an exterminating eschatological letter. So you can see, there seems to be a correlation between all the Z's found in some of these Ouija spirit names that they come across and the magical significance within.
Wow. That's a lot.
Well, now, looking through your website, you have a lot about, you kind of go into the Genesis with Eve being tempted by, of course, the serpent, and that kind of goes off on, looking into more of the, I guess, the female physique and how Hollywood, it seems to be Hollywood, magazines and so forth, and it seems to be a lot of actually Jennifer Lopez stuff, has kind of the Z, embedded sort of into the pictures. I'm looking now at movie poster for like Enough, Anaconda on your website. Try to think of some other stuff. Just certain poses that she makes that are kind of the Z, are kind of embedded in there.
Absolutely. Now we're getting into the hidden gematria of it all. And again, Aleister Crowley wrote a book called The Liber 77, which goes into a lot of these. There's another explosion in what's a side term of synchronicity, which is called synchromysticism. Synchromysticism is kind of defined as finding esoteric and magic significance within the seemingly mundane. And that's the story on Jennifer Lopez that's on my blog is kind of a fun little experiment that I did in gematria based on the pictogram from the clothing line Oz. I took that Oz pictogram and kind of put it backwards where it spells Zo, and then you begin to start noticing, the gematria, which is again is a form of finding hidden meanings, and it's basically a Hebrew term. In Hebrew, each letter also has a vibration color as well as a vibrational number. And so, you start getting into that kind of stuff. I mean, it's kind of like the movie 23. If you look for something hard enough, you're going to find it. But I do believe that there is some relevance here.
Well, the Nazi symbol, too, is just Z's in a mirror.
Yeah, 2 Z's.
Yeah. And then Barb called, and she wants to know if having Z's in your name she has 2 Z's in her last name. And,
I don't want to scare people by thinking that just because they've got the letter Z in their name that they're evil or anything like that. I don't think that's the case. That you can look up your name as far as the Cauldron or Pythagorean numerological value, which mine happens to be the same as the Z character. And John Zappis mentioned something about laws of recognition, laws of attraction. A lot of the emails that I'm receiving from people, they say that the Z tells them that they're a chosen one. So that all this stuff comes into play. It's just part of my research, and I'm trying to get to the bottom of some of this stuff, and that's where my research is going. But I don't want people to think just because they've got the letter Z in their name, of course, that there's Elizabeth is eagle. I don't think that's the case.
Now, why exactly being chosen? Why do you think you were chosen at the age of 15 to start interacting with Zozo?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know that I was chosen. I think that there's no telling how many people years and years ago have been in contact with this thing. I just happen to be one of the people that have noticed it during the advent of the internet and being able to communicate with a lot more people that way. And I'm getting a lot of flack from people saying that this is a clever hoax. I'm trying to start some urban legend. And that's definitely not the case. I'm just an ordinary guy. I'm not a demonologist. I'm just someone that's been researching this for a couple of years and have decided that it's important to provide this as a cautionary tale. I don't want people to go through what I've gone through.
When you started doing this, were you doing using the Ouija board by yourself? Did you have somebody else with you?
I never used one by myself. It didn't work as well. It always seemed to, in my case, and I've read about this, even in the Parker Brothers or the Hasbro Ouija instructions, it tells you that you're supposed to use it with a member of the opposite sex just for polarity reasons or whatever. But yeah, me and my ex-wife used to do it, as well as friends. We would be blindfolded. We would turn the board upside down. It would still work. I've made them out of pieces of paper. I don't believe that you have to have an actual board to make it work. I've downloaded them off the internet. I asked them where it come from. It said cyberspace.
Now, I got a question on how does it work blindfolded? I mean, I guess, okay, it can work, like it can move, but how do you know what it says?
Well, you got to have somebody standing over you. He said he's
Absolutely.
always have
Okay.
a spotter.
Absolutely.
Kind of.
That's a spotter.
In my experiences with, when I had read about the idiomer effect, which basically says you're tapping into your unconscious while doing it, I began to do experiments with the board, with either myself or the participants being blindfolded, and I would hover above the board. I would turn it different ways, and magnificently, it was still able to spell out words with not as much clarity, but enough to where we could read what the thing's trying to say. Of course, so if you're trying to heed the spirit from not being able to spell, then of course it's going to have problems. But we were able to successfully spell out words and have conversations while blindfolded. Which, there may be something to this idiomer effect, but I was able to do it successfully blindfolded.
Okay, now when we're talking about a Ouija board, how do I phrase this? Like, a lot of people say, okay, you're talking to people that have passed on, you're using it as a medium, I guess, to the other side, and you're saying that you even brought up a demon. Now, would you say that each thing that you are talking to, I guess, everything that's responding, do you think that it's all demonic? Do you think that there can be a good spirit? Do you think that the use of that can bring any kind of spirit back to you? Like, what are your thoughts on all that?
No, I think that contact with demons is a relatively rare occurrence, unless, again, this Z character comes to you, which I do believe is a demon. I have talked to other spirits, which basically said that they were lost souls, and again, it is possible to speak to spirits of human origin through boards, but they don't demonstrate nearly the power. They don't manifest themselves. They may be able to make a door open and close, but when you actually see one slam and shake, there's a difference there, and there's different hierarchies of demons. There's different levels of spirits, and again, when you use Ouija boards, you are opening up a door to speak to these entities, and you can bring yourself harm by doing so, and that's what my message is.
Yeah.
Now, how about significance of? I was thinking of the Wizard of Oz. The OZ is there. I'm not exactly sure why he picked Oz, but there's a lot of fantastical ideas in that story itself. Do you think that might be in some relation to or Z? I don't want to say the name.
Well, for me, I used to actually, consider myself to be, at one time when I feel I was definitely attached to this thing, I actually thought I was Ozzy Osbourne's twin brother.
What?
I've got pictures of me on the website that, I'm dressed up at one of these Ouija parties I used to have years ago, where I used to, basically really thought that I was his twin brother. So getting to the Oz significance, again, there is a phenomena called the Ozo Phenomena, and it all goes back to the Aleister Crowley workings, the Pan, the 7-7 gematria.
Yeah.
Again, the letter Z has an inverted 7. So I do believe, and I'm actually researching the Wizard of Oz currently for one of my new postings on the site, that there is some significance as to some esoteric stuff that's going on with the Wizard of Oz, the Pink Floyd connection within that, and so forth.
Well, we have a phone call. It's Stacy. She'd like to ask you a question.
Sure.
Go ahead, Stace.
Hi, Stacy.
Hi, how are you? Very interesting. I have a question regarding the Ouija board. I find it hard to believe that you can go buy a game at, say, Walmart, and for it to perform such acts.
There's actually many petitions that are being signed to try to ban these boards from Toys R Us and other places that sell them. And again,
I personally think they're creepy. I do. I really think they're creepy. But it just seems to me, I'm like, wow, this is just a little bit off the mark. Now, does it really move for you? I mean, without your help, or
not only have they moved tremendously, I've seen the planchets fly across the room, I've seen boards levitate, I've seen lights go off and on, doors slam, a snake come slithering across the floor, spiders come out of nowhere, just a lot of stuff that used to happen when I was heavily involved in these sessions.
Now, I really was believing a lot until the whole Ozzy Osbourne thing. I think Ozzy's just a drug addict. I mean, I was really with you there until the Ozzy thing. Now, what does Ozzy? I don't understand. Just because his name had the letter Z in it?
No, I was obsessed with Led Zeppelin and Black Sabbath, in my 20s, and listening to that music and that whole lifestyle, and delving into these seances and Ouija boards. The Ozzy Osbourne, I don't know why that I thought I'd become his twin brother, but it was just I was either possessed or under the attachment of this spirit, and I'd done some crazy stuff back then, and it wasn't until years later that I actually suffered a nervous breakdown that my mother was able to successfully use religious provocation and banish this spirit from me.
Wow, that's intense. That's really intense. Now, what about do you believe in the 666 thing?
There's a lot of controversy about that. It's not definitely not my area of expertise, but actually they say that the 777 is actually more significant. But I haven't studied a lot about that. It doesn't really have a lot to do with with what my research is, but I am interested in it. But I don't, I'm just not. I wouldn't be the person to talk to about that.
What is the 7? I don't know what the 777 is.
Well, again, the 77 is you'd have to read up on some of Aleister Crowley's works, but he, in some of his invocations and his spirit summoning, he identified that number to be his, not as well as 666, the 777. You'll just have to read about it. Some of the information's on my site, but there is some significance in 77 gematria. It's all over the internet, the numerology, the reverse symbolism, the synchromysticism side of it.
I always heard that 666 is not being complete, 7 being the like the holy number of completion, God's completion, and that 777 would be the fully complete. And that's why there's some significance to it. But
hey, Stacy, where are you calling from?
Wheeling.
Wheeling? Well, thanks for calling.
Yeah, thanks for calling in.
Thanks.
Hey.
Interesting show, guys.
Well, thanks. See ya.
Thanks, Jace.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, I mean it's really crazy how the symbolisms are I guess drawn into everyday life, and it's crazy. There's a sign right next to me that as soon as you started calling him Z. Right next to me, there's a Z with a inside of a circle. That's like right next to my head. I was like, thanks.
Well, for instance, there's 7 chakras in the human body. There's 7 colors of the rainbow, 7 days of the week, 7 auras that surround the human body, 7 wonders of the world, the 7 seas, the Flight 77 that hit the Pentagon, the 77th parallel west where Washington, D.C. and the Pentagon are located. Again, another 7 is the World Trade Center that collapsed after the other 2 towers. The letter Z is derived from 2 sevens, again, inverted.
Yeah.
What does all this mean? I think the answer lies in the number 7 itself. It means mystery, God. It's the 7th letter of the alphabet. And again, Aleister Crowley touched upon a lot of these things in correlation with the letter Z, and the information's out there. There's several links on my website that discuss it. A lot of synchromystical stuff, and so I think somehow this does tie in to this name. And again, usually demons don't want to know what their names are. And John Zaffis pointed out that this spirit is proud of its name, and it's not afraid to use it. And so, again, we're getting into...
And that's why it shows up so many times.
Yeah, we're getting into uncharted territory here.
Do you think that because of maybe your website or you bringing it all to public, that it's giving this demon more power, more ability to get to others?
I get asked that a lot. And last week when John Zaffis was interviewed about this, he said it took him 48 hours of intense thought. John Zaffis rarely will repeat a name of a demon,
Uh-huh.
and he goes on in that interview, which the interview's on my links to the podcast are on my site as well. He was very bothered about the decision of actually coming out and saying the name, and he does believe that indeed, and myself believe that it can, cause because of laws of recognition, it can cause this thing to manifest more power, but because this particular one is showing itself so often, John Zappis, on his interview, decided to go ahead that it would be more important to let people know about what this thing is and to try to deter people from messing with it on Ouija boards. Again, he's investigating 3 separate Zozo hauntings as we speak. And John Zappis, he's the godfather of the paranormal.
Yeah.
He was the lead investigator on the haunting in Connecticut.
We only have 2 minutes.
Oh, okay.
So this guy, if he's made the decision. I've made the decision to go ahead and again, I don't like to repeat its name, but I do warn people and use my site as a cautionary thing.
That's great. Can you give your site out one more time so that listeners can get to it?
Yeah, it's zozotheouijaspirit.blogspot.com.
Okay, everybody go on out there.
And that is linked up off of our website, too, if you can't remember that.
All right, so get out there to whispersradio.com. You can click on his link right there, too. Darren, we are out of time. I want to thank you so much for coming on the show today and sharing your story, sharing your warnings, which I think is more important. And keep in touch. We'll be having you back on for updates.
Hey, no problem. Thanks a lot, guys. It's been a lot of fun.
I appreciate it a lot. Thank you.
You bet.
Bye, Darren. Lola, what do you think?
Wow. Well, I pulled up the mystical number 7, and it's amazing. Every religion
Really?
has something to do with 7. Yes.
Now, he said Z was the 7th letter of the alphabet. That was kind of in
Did he
his...
say G? I thought maybe he said G.
It's G for God.
God.
Oh, because he said
'Cause
7th letter
Jordan
of the
actually-
alphabet, and I'm like, wait a minute, A, B, C, D.
Jordan
E.
actually did that, and I'm thinking, the Z's to 26. What are you doing?
He's saying that now on the radio, but right after I did it, he did the same exact thing.
Because I wanted to see what letter it was, and then, I'm thinking, oh, G.
Okay, well, we have to go.
All right,
So,
CNN. After that, hour number 2 of Whispers. We are at Market House Bar and Grill, and come on out here. We'll be here for another 2 hours. It's going to be great. You're listening to Whispers Radio on AM 1600 WKK.
Now it's time for Whispers, your number 1 source for all things paranormal, with your hosts Jordan Klein and Nick Queen, and produced by the lovely Lola Miller. Whispers is brought to you by West Virginia Penitentiary Tours at the West Virginia State Penitentiary in Moundsville. Unforgettable, historical, educational.
We're back, you guys.
All right, welcome back
Happy
to
with
hour
the
number
music.
2 of Whispers Radio.
Oh, I know what happened.
I'll tell you exactly what happened. You talking about demons for the last hour, and
Now you tried to do Stairway to Heaven, and you're on the highway to hell.
His website.
Oh, is it?
Oh.
Yeah. I had it open, and evidently it has music playing. So
It's appropriate.
That's what happened.
It's appropriate to do a devil page with Stairway to Heaven.
Well, you got L and Led Zeppelin. Zeppelin's got a Z.
Well, then you got
You're next to a Zima poster.
Stop with all of this stuff. Not everything with a Z in it is evil or anything like that. You don't start looking at every single thing as some sign from a demon.
All right, Lola Maziller.
Yes. Now, we just had the boys on this afternoon on Bill DeFabio's show.
Uh-huh.
His son and his good friend on Beatles stuff. And somehow we got into the conversation about, all of these things that are tied to either the album covers or the words in songs.
About Paul being dead?
Somebody's death. If you sit and just do nothing but ponder, you can come up with omens and things in every single thing.
I think that's a human thing. We always look for connections and so forth. I think that's the reason shows like Lost and everything, because all of a sudden you start getting into Jack said this. What did it mean? You know, and then
Yeah, and how many pictures were hanging? Well,
and the numbers. Think about the lottery number and how that goes into
Yeah.
everything.
well, the party that Hurley's parents threw for him.
Jordan's trying to take his Band-Aid off and crying, and he almost yelled on the radio. Leave it alone.
All right. Sorry, Lola. Go ahead. The early party.
Well, it's just, you know, you were supposed to count the palm trees, count the coconuts, count the balloons, because each one was tied into one of the numbers of the lottery number.
Did you DVR it and do it?
No.
See, but you know what,
Because
Jade?
people that have too much time on their hands are the ones that come up with all this stuff.
So did you do it?
I just asked her that.
Well, she said no. It's only people who have too much time on their
And then you
hands.
asked her again.
Too
Oh.
much time on my hands, that's for sure.
See, but it's you leave it to J.J. Abrams to be that precise with something.
Well, I know, but it's just, you know, if you want to look for all that stuff, then you're going to find, like Barb calls. She has 2 Z's in her last name. Well, it's not even her name. It's it's her married name.
Well,
So don't start thinking because you have a Z in your name.
It's
that
not an
you're
ex-husband, is it? No. I'm sorry.
And the Wizard of Oz. Gee, I fail to believe that the guy that wrote the Wizard of Oz was thinking of.
well, the Wizard of Oz is about the Industrial Revolution.
Yeah.
Which has nothing to do with that demon. You can find it in anything.
Well, like he even mentioned the number 23, and how in that movie it's like, oh well, you know, there 23 seconds ago there were 2 people that ate 3 cheeseburgers, and cheeseburger, you know, amount of sulfates,
Sodium?
I don't know. You know what I mean. I don't
He
know.
doesn't have no idea what he's talking about.
I'm still out.
He's gonna blame it on the Band-Aid that he just tried to pull off.
I'm running a pint low.
That's your problem.
Yeah.
You sure that's all?
That's not all of his problem. He's got so many other things that could be his problem.
I don't know. I'm scared to death. I registered to be a bone marrow donor too.
I thought when he called me, he's like, I want to be a bone marrow donor. It's like, not today.
He's like, you're gonna still do the show, right?
He's like, he's on the table.
You want to know how they snagged me in, Lola? And I think it's the dirtiest thing in the world. Because I was scared to death. I was talking to him. I was toying with the idea. And then they're like, yeah, they put you to sleep. It feels like, you know, you fell on the ice because it's going to hurt your butt pretty good. And it's going to do this. And I'm like, oh. He said, but if it's, you know, if somebody needs it, it's usually a kid. And it's, you know, probably leukemia or something. I'm like, oh, a little kid with leukemia. Okay, thanks. I'll sign up now. Hey, thanks for throwing that one out.
You did that, you know. And chances are you may never be called. You know.
They test you with like cheek swabs, and I just ate McDonald's.
Oh my gosh.
So I don't know what it's going to say about my immune system.
Yeah, that you're just basically pickles, lettuce, onions on a sesame
Like,
seed
this guy's got the
bun.
worst immune system in the world.
His blood type's going to be grade A.
Yeah.
Or grade B. I don't know
Grade
exactly what
C.
me. Grade C me.
While you guys discuss this fascinating topic, I'm going to get our guest.
Our shows went downhill.
All right,
We're
everybody.
talking about blood swabs and everything.
Next on mute. We are at the Market House Grill in Kruger Street in Elm Grove. Come out and see us. They got a Monday special. It is, $10 for a bucket of beer and a pound of wings. The flavors are mild, barbecue, buffalo blue, and plum sweet. Sorry, JT. There you go.
Yeah, you hit it already. For tonight, we do the $10 for 8 wings and 4 beers, which is a bucket. $2 well drinks, $1 domestics, and we also run with cheese fries and onion rings, jalapeno poppers.
And they are delish.
What exactly is a well drink? I have to ask.
It's like your like kind of like lower class alcohol. Like Crown would kind of be like middle shelf, and
okay.
McMaster's would be well.
Gotcha. I had to ask.
One that you dig out of the bottom of the earth. No.
All right, you guys.
Go to the basement.
We
All right.
do have the guest is on the phone.
All right, Nikki.
Yeah.
Hello. I'm sorry. 1 second.
Well,
I was pulling. I wasn't expecting that quick. Robert Collins spent 22 years in the Air Force serving in the fields of avionics. ground communications, engineering, physics, and intelligence. It was in his capacity as Air Force intelligence officer, as chief analyst in theoretical physics at the Foreign Technology Division at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Ohio that he made his first contacts in the field of UFOs. Robert, are you with us?
Yes, I'm with you, Nick.
How's everything been?
Oh, pretty good. Just got rid of our snow, and we're having warmer weather here, believe it or not, the mid-latitudes of Dayton.
Now, where exactly is it you're at, Dayton?
Dayton, Ohio.
Oh, okay, I couldn't hear you there for a second. Dayton. No, that's probably heading our way then, because it started getting really cold today. There's wind picking up and everything all of a sudden.
We get out there and we blow the winds in your direction, so we get it out of here.
Oh, you're dirty. Now tell us about your book, sir.
Well, thank you.
All right, your book is called, Nick, you got it there, Exempt from Disclosure.
It arrived today. I'd been looking for it, and I finally got it. Came in the mail. I was like, oh, right before the show. So I've been going through, trying to get through as much as I can. But one of the first things I picked up in there was a paper that said not to speed read it. So I was like, oh, geez. Now there's a lot of stuff in here. Now you start out. You're talking about your experience as working at the Foreign Technology Division. And I like that you put in here that FTD is not a florist. What exactly were you doing at FTD?
Well, we're working in TQTR, which is called Advanced Technologies. Of course, by now, all symbols have radically changed. And just like bean counters in any big organization, they always like to change office symbols and designations and responsibilities for people. You know how that goes.
Oh, yeah.
And but I was working in advanced concepts for future systems involving lasers and advanced communication techniques.
Now, you did this book with Richard Doty. Now, a lot of people, Richard Doty's kind of a controversial figure, at least from what I understand. Some people say that he's a counterintelligence. Some people swear, that he's, 100% on the up and up. Now, you worked with Richard Doty at FTD, correct?
No, I know. I started getting together with Richard in 1987. I got in contact with him because of Bill Moore and Jamie Chandra, who I talked to back in 1985 when I was still at FTD, and they were interested in a guy named Ernie Kellerstraus, who's in the book too. And he connects up with our Area 51 and S4 and all the other covert operating places in the U.S. that deal with this subject. And it's because of Ernie that Bill Moore got a hold of me, and then I was able to talk to Rick Doty and Jamie Chandra and the rest of them.
So now, would you say that Richard Doty was or was not counterintelligence, or? Oh
yeah, no, he was he's very much counterintelligence. He was Air Force OSI. And the fact is, he worked for the PJ branch, and PJ in the Air Force deals with disinformation and counterintelligence.
Okay, so now, and I guess the question then would be, since he was with counterintelligence, do you think that it was part of his operation to running a counter-op against the UFO establishment, maybe to try to spread out disinfo?
Sure. His job was to protect all the classified information dealing with the subject. But he, at the same time, though, he was part of the Reagan administration program for disclosure back in those days. And Reagan was very much in favor of disclosure, and Rick Doty was part of that disclosure program. So he was actually doing two jobs when he was in the Air Force. He was set up to protect the classified programs. At the same time, he was there to leak out certain pieces of information the government wanted out.
Okay, so I guess going back a little bit, when you started in FTD, what year was that?
That was in 1983, January 83.
Okay, and what exactly were you doing at the time? What kind of work were you doing?
Well, yeah, as I just explained, I was working in an office called TQTR, which is Advanced Technology, dealing with advanced technology concepts. But we were doing that kind of intelligence-based snooping on the Russians or the Soviets at the time, and finding out what they were doing in terms of advanced technology and then comparing it to what we were doing.
Okay, now, and how did you start getting into the contacts with UFOs? I mean, were there people at the at the FTD that were?
No, that's because Bill Moore called me at FTD in 1985 because of Ernie, and I don't know how Bill Moore got my phone number, but he managed to get a hold of me, and that's when we started to get together and have meetings after that initial phone call, and I put him in contact with Ernie.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I had it clarified. Now, what kind of stuff were you looking into when you first started? I mean, was this more because if you're looking at you're working in the government and the military, were you doing any kind of looking at the reverse engineered artifacts or anything that were left?
No. If I had that kind of access, I was in contact with people who had knowledge about this stuff. But I didn't have direct access to it myself. If I had that access, I wouldn't be talking.
I understand. Okay, I had to ask. I'm sorry. Now, going into the book, you started talking about MJ12. Now, what exactly is MJ12?
MJ12 was the group that was supposedly established by Truman. It's I think you got the signature, the Eisenhower document with the Truman letter with it. In September 1947, so it was an organization that was set up especially to deal with the stuff that was recovered at Roswell and other places.
And okay, now, of course, your opinion on Roswell was that it did happen. On the front cover of your book, you have what you call a picture of is it Eben 1 or 2? Is this Eben 2?
Well, it's the likeness of Eben 2.
Eben 2.
That picture was supposedly given to. Taken at the crash recovery site in Chihuahua, Mexico, back in 1974.
So you don't believe that it's an actual real picture, or?
Oh yeah.
Oh, you do. Okay.
Oh yeah, I've passed it across many people. Rick Doty thinks it's real. A lot of MDs I passed the picture across to them, and they thought it was real. And the general consensus amongst us that the picture is very real.
Now, was this one of the?
You can see the bruise. You can tell on the picture if you look very carefully. You can see a lot of the bruising. You can see that twisted neck around the neck area. It looks very like in fact, the entity was recovered in some kind of type of crash, and severely injured.
Now, I know I'd heard a while back that after the Roswell crash, there were some living. I guess pilots or passengers from the craft that were taken to Area 51, and that they lived there until the I think the 80s. Have you ever heard anything about that?
The one that Roswell was EB1, and of course as everybody knows, he died in 1952. I think it was June 1952. But as far as other living entities, EB2 was part of an exchange program, and so was EB3.
Now, what does EB stand for?
Extraterrestrial biological entity.
Oh.
Okay, so and I'm looking here at the in the book about EB1 looks a lot different than the at least the picture of or the likeness of EB2. Now, are these two different? From two different...
They come from two different stars in the Zeta Reticuli star system.
Okay, so what exactly is the difference between the two in your understanding? I mean, the one looks very... Of course, the one EV2 is very gray.
If you're familiar with the Betty and Barney Hill case and their abduction case, you find out that if you look at Betty's description of these aliens, they pretty much match up with what EB1 looks like. And of course, in the other cases, you find out in newer abduction cases that the aliens look more like that picture you see on the front cover of the book there.
Yeah, the typical gray alien.
Yeah, the typical gray. And Bobby Morrison in Boulder, Colorado, says that those are exactly the type of he calls them his little bastards, abduct him all the time, and he says that that picture, in fact, is the link for it is exactly the types that show up in his bedroom.
Wow, that would be so scary. I don't know if I can handle it.
Well, yeah, well, he goes through this, he tells me he goes through this stuff once or twice a week.
Now, have you ever had an abduction experience?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Okay.
Now, have you ever seen any craft or anything like that at all?
Any what?
Any craft, or have you ever had an encounter with?
Yeah, no, I've seen these things any number of times, and the fact is, one went all right over the top of the house here in September '98. I haven't really seen anything. I actually haven't been looking for anything. I haven't seen anything since about September '98.
Now, look, because like I said, I did just get the book, and I do, I wish I could read faster. But one of the things that I did get into looking at while flipping through is looking at the biological makeup of the Greys, and you talk about how the like we have, humans, of course, have a heart and then lungs, whereas they have this more of like a almost a unified kind of system. Where it seems like the lungs and the heart are together. Would you say that they?
So the heart, the heart and the lungs are essentially one organ.
Okay. Now,
and I don't understand all the anatomy or
sure.
how it really functions, other than what Rick Doty described to me and what I learned. But,
now, what exactly did he describe?
Well, he described what you see in those pictures there.
Okay. Now, does he think that? Because the question that popped in my head when I was looking at it and going through it, was that perhaps they were kind of a manufactured race, which I've read about in other books, that they were made perhaps maybe even by the EB1 creatures to kind of do the dirty work, kind of be like you said, the little bastards that go out, get their get the person and bring them to the ship or something, kind of do the grunt work. Have you ever heard anything like that?
Well, no. The way it's described to me is that I get, you can learn a lot of things from abductees. Verifiable, trustworthy types, not the ones who come off with the wild stories. And Bobby Morrison is a very level-headed person, and he works for the NOAA, National Oceanographic Society there, and he comes off with some very level-headed. In fact, as he talked about one that slipped in the bathtub one time when he was trying to get in the house. But he's a very level-headed guy, and he says that they've got some deep underground bases here on this planet that a couple of times he and his wife were brought to.
Now, is this the Greys that they have the base?
Yeah, the one you see on the front of your book. Exactly the same types that he says he gets abducted by.
Now, where exactly does he think these bases were? I mean,
he has no idea.
Okay.
He's not quite sure because the craft that he's in, that these aliens control, are. He said all he said to me is they kept going deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. And he said he didn't know how deep it was, but it was extremely deep.
Because I think last week we were speaking with, and it totally slipped my mind, but he was talking about USOs, which were unidentified submersible objects, which would go underneath the oceans. Perhaps the base would be maybe located at the bottom of the ocean.
Be Michael Sala.
Michael Sala.
Well, yeah, I don't know if you want to think about it. Just think about it. If all these stories are true, and you got USOs, you got underground bases, and you've got bases under the ocean. And if the fact is it is real, that's a pretty scary scenario. And then you've got these objects can go through mountains and just go through the ground and get to their base without having an actual entryway to the base. If those stories are true, that's a pretty scary scenario.
Now I got to ask. Now you said EB2 we got from an exchange program. What do you mean by that?
Well, there was supposedly Serpo occurred in 1965. In 1964. Understanding that EB2 was brought here as a part of the exchange program. And the other part of it, I think there was another part of that exchange program in 1969, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, so you believe or we got him from the Serpo project?
No, that's what the intelligence sources all report.
Okay. Now you said the first one died in 58?
52.
52?
52.
When was...
Yeah, that was EB1.
So, was he living here for a while after the crash?
He lived up to Los Alamos, and there was a colonel, old Army colonel, name of Redlinger. He's in the book. Who lived with this EB1 from roughly 1947 until he died in 1952. And Redlinger died, lived with his daughter in Phoenix, Arizona, up to about 1989 when he died. Redlinger did give Bill Moore an interview back in 1981, and to this day, Bill Moore has never released that interview. But Bill said he would, or Rick Doty got him the interview, and Bill said as long as he kept it secret or wouldn't release it until they said it was okay, that they would give Bill that interview with Redlinger. Well, to my knowledge, Bill has never released that interview.
Wow.
We need to go ahead and take a break, but when we come back, I would like to talk about Men in Black, to go in that a little bit, if that's okay with you. All right, great. I'm looking forward to that. And
Lola, you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right, good. We're at the Market House Grill in Elm Grove. Come on out and see us. We'll be right back. Whispers on WKKX and UPRN, the UFO Paranormal Radio Network.
We're back, gentlemen.
Yeah, I'm coming back. I'm having a headset issue. Gotta love the remotes. Welcome back to hour number 2.5. No, 1.5.
1.5.
Of Whispers Radio here on AM 1600 WKKX, the Valley's Watchdog, and UPRN, the UFO Paranormal Radio Network. We are talking to Mr. Robert Collins about aliens. We're talking about EV2 right now. We're talking about EV1 was from the Roswell crash, who was living in Los Alamos? Is that what you said, Mr. Collins?
Yes,
Okay. And Nick, you wanted to talk about Men in Black.
Well, we have before we go there, we have New York Lily on the phone with a question.
New York Lily, hi.
Hi, how you doing?
Hey, good.
Great. How are you?
Good, thanks.
Good. Well, you're on the air with Mr. Collins.
Hi, Mr. Collins.
Hello.
I'd like to know, there's some discrepancy of what people think as to what your aviary name is and what Rick Doty's aviary name is. Could you tell us what it is or what you think it is?
That's well known and been out for quite a while. That I was called Condor, and Rick Doty was called Falcon, and he was supposedly the pseudo Falcon. The real Falcon would never come on screen. So I guess I can say I never saw the real Falcon. Of course, I've seen other types which would fit very neatly into your X-Files.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lily.
Now, real quick, what do you mean by aviary name?
Is this Nick? Okay.
For whoever wants to answer.
Yeah.
I'm in the dark here. I don't know. What is an aviary name?
Nick, are you asking me?
Go ahead. Yeah.
It's the group of people that we all. Well, of course, that aviary name was coined by Bill Moore, and we never knew when we got this thing started back in '85 that he was going to give us all names, but we didn't mind, and it was okay with us. It didn't mean anything to us one way or the other. We were acting kind of quietly and covertly amongst each other, not really talking to the public.
Oh, okay. Now, before the break, we talked about Men in Black. Oh.
Thanks, Lily, for your question.
Yeah, thanks, Lily, if you're still listening. We love you.
See what you did.
I'm sorry.
Okay, we were talking before the break about Men in Black. Now, Men in Black, we've talked about before on the show. A lot of the people we've talked to had it in relation to the Mothman sighting down in Point Pleasant, West Virginia, and also with I believe Indrid Cole was the name that was always
Indrid
thrown around.
Cold.
Indrid Cold, yeah, I'm sorry. What exactly, in your book, it says that they always travel in threes. What exactly are the characteristics of a true Men in Black sighting?
Well, the classic types, the ones that may not be, so much covered in the book, is the totally dressed in black with a neat tie, very pale on the outside, kind of almost whitish skin, and very mechanical looking and acting. But the other types that are covered in the book are supposedly the real ones. The other ones are just sort of mythology. And the ones in the book are mostly run by a clandestine part of the OSI. And they would hire the con artists and the criminals and the ex-cons to run their little Men in Black program and go around and visit people supposedly who had taken pictures or seen UFOs.
Now,
of course, all this was mostly around in the 50s and 60s, but it kind of the whole thing just I guess kind of faded away in the 70s. And it was done much more covertly and mostly by phone taps and general surveillance. It wasn't by knocking on somebody's door in a direct confrontation.
Now, I want to ask you real quick. I've heard a lot of people refer to Men in Black as being a type of alien themselves, or hybrid even.
Well,
because
the mythological Men in Black, yeah, they could be because they were described as acting so mechanical. But the other times they were described as acting very human. So, but nobody's been able to really prove the so-called mechanical types or show evidence that those things actually existed other than what they said.
Now, so you think that do you think they're still around, they're still going to people and kind of shutting them up to some degree?
No, I think it's all, right now, today it's all gone very covertly. I don't think you're going to see any real overt, open, Men in Black. It's done very covertly, and it's a lot of, NSA has taken over a lot of the responsibilities of intercepts and picking up, my understanding is picking up millions and millions of emails in any one given time and sorting them through a supercomputer and then having the analysts look at them to see what people are saying. And they do the same thing with phone calls and faxes and other types of communications. And so the classical Men in Black type of scenarios, I think, have just sort of gone by the wayside. They've become outdated.
Now, when you have people talking, let's say, we've had people on the show say that they've had experiences and then they got threatening phone calls afterwards, or something like that. You say that's from the NSA now? It's not Men in Black?
I don't know who these people are and when this happened. If you have a time frame, that would help. But a lot of that stuff is kind of faded into the background because the modern surveillance is so good.
Now, the person that pops in my mind that we've talked to most recently was Stan Romanek. And he's talked about a voice that I think they called Audrey, that he would receive these phone calls, very mechanical, robotic voice, saying, I'm not sure exactly the message, but kind of more or less saying, not to be talking, or, and he says he's seen people kind of following him and so forth. Very covertly, of course. They don't ever come up to him.
Yeah, if I say anything about Stan Romanek, I'm liable to get the wrath of whatever on me. But he is Marilyn Rubin up there in Michigan, who runs the abduction site, said that back in 2000 that she had a lot of phone conversations with him, and she believes that he really had abduction experiences.
Now that's Stan Romanek, or?
Yeah, Romanek.
Now we're not going to say one way or the other. We're not going to get on you, of course.
But later on, a lot of the stuff he's saying, we just don't find very credible, and MUFON doesn't find it very credible either.
Now, what exactly? And not to go, I guess, exactly towards him, but how would you look at something to say whether or not it would be credible to not being credible? Can you get like kind of in general terms?
He won't submit his evidence to any real. He won't submit his evidence to MUFON for investigation. He won't let credible scientific or people who have a background in photographic analysis look at his so-called alien in the window. And his sources, the so-called credible sources he's had that said his evidence is legitimate, they found that they can't verify these sources. They can't verify the people that say that he has all this backup or professional backup from experts. And so there's a lot of problems with that case.
Now, I got another question about Roswell. I remember, well, I mean, I wasn't alive when that, but the alien abduction, or the alien autopsy, that was supposed to be from one of the, I guess not survivors, but one of the people, or aliens in the crash. Is that credible? The alien autopsy video?
That you mean the thing that was shown back in the 1990s?
Yeah. The TV special. Yeah, that's my feeling.
Yeah, well, it's Rick Doty said that in his own sources, and of course we talked about this back then. Was that the whole thing was a hoax, but it's amazing that for some reason the hoaxes and frauds have a long memory. They go a long way, and people still believe them way after the facts. But from what we can determine, that this alien, I guess, was full of animal body parts.
And I think a lot of the times the reason they carry on more than, the hoaxes carry on more than the actual real evidence is because the people that make up the hoaxes and so forth are usually in it for a buck and know how to market it. Yeah, they're more into the marketing scheme of, and I always think the people that are, the first to say, "Oh, I was abducted by aliens. You can buy my DVD or shirts or everything else on my,
bobblehead."
Yeah, you can, on my website, and I'll come speak, and I'll, all this, and there's always a price tag for everything they try to do.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, look, CNN bought into that Boy in the Balloon story for 3 days.
Oh yeah.
And as soon as I heard who it was, I knew that was just a hoax. Because he'd been on Wife Swap and made an idiot of himself with that same balloon.
Yeah, right.
So.
Now, see, it could, in fact, because you say, it's always hoaxes that carry the longest. It could be, I mean, the same way if it was something true. I mean, if we really had a video of an alien autopsy and we really did disclose it and it was out there, people would say, "Oh, that's fake. Oh, that's fake. Look at that. You can see the zipper."
Sure, right. Yeah. Yeah. If it's something really solid and real, you're right. They'll probably say it's a fake.
Yeah, people wouldn't believe it either.
Now, what do you see as the most? If you were sit down and somebody said, "Okay, I want to know what the most compelling evidence that's been presented to you," what would you say that would be?
I had to sit there and talk about myself, and the only thing we have is the right path. We've got that nailed down, pretty solid. It would stand up in a court of law. I know, but we can't. It's on an Air Force base. It would take an act of God to get into those facilities. We know how to get into them. We know where the entryways are. We know how they've been sealed up. We know the exact locations of the tunnels. We know the locations of the vaults. But we can't lift a hand, or else we go to jail.
And I know. Reading back one of the books I mention all the time, and people have had different opinions of it, was Philip J. Corso's book on Roswell, and he mentions that the craft was taken to Wright Air Force Base. Now, you would say that did happen, correct?
Right. Well, if you look at the errata sheet,
uh-huh.
Okay, there's a link to a report called the Air Accident Report, which is on the Majestic website. In that report, it details von Karman and Oppenheimer and the fact that they were looking at a craft at Wright Pat back on the 16th of July, 47. And that report goes through it detail by they describe the inside of it, the outside, the control systems, the turrets, everything else that you can imagine about the craft. And this is on 16 July 47, and the details in that report reflect what the current sources are saying.
Now, the craft itself, I know he talks about that it was reverse engineered, all these different things that were taken off of it at Wright Air Force Base. What exactly went on? I know that's probably a very broad question, but what exactly do you have? I guess kind of giving a teaser for your book, which is exempt from disclosure. I want to make sure I get the name out. The Black World of UFOs. Links on our website to go to Amazon to buy it. But what exactly evidence would people find in the book?
Well, the book has a whole chapter on the vaults of Wright Pat, and the drawings in the book, by the way, on Wright Pat are official drawings. They actually came from Wright Pat, and they show the tunnel systems, they show the buildings, they show the locations of the vaults, and how these things have been closed up and sealed up by the Air Force back in 1983 when everything was moved out of Wright Pat. And then there's a section on reverse engineering which has the documents, defense intelligence documents on the alien energy device (ED), called the Crystal Rectangle. And the book has got details on every thing you could possibly think of as far as evidence to back up what you're reading.
Now, do they actually have crafts at Wright-Patterson?
Well, the air accident report, if you go to that errata sheet, I guess you in the book there's the errata sheet.
Uh-huh.
If you go to that link, you can read that hard-to-read document from 16 July of 47, which details the craft they exploited at Wright-Patterson. And I said von Karman and Oppenheimer were two of the scientists there at the time that did the exploitation.
Now, did anything happen to you for, I guess, releasing this information? Did the NSA kind of give you any hard time, or anybody at all?
Oh no, we're just being watched all the time. I've got plenty of evidence here that shows that this phone has been wiretapped any number of times over the years. Yeah, and it goes right to the Pentagon.
So does that mean the government's listening to us right now?
Oh, probably.
Hello.
Yeah. The NSA just sucks up anything and everything dealing with this subject and anything dealing with terrorists and other subjects.
And now we've talked to a lot of people about disclosure, about trying to get the government to release all this information to stop the cover up. Do you see that happening at any point in my lifetime, your lifetime, grandkids? I mean, anytime in the near future, sometime?
No, nothing ever happens voluntarily. It took 9/11 to wake us up to terrorists. It took us Wall Street to wake us up to the bankers, and I guess it's going to take something else to wake us up to aliens.
What do you think that would be? I mean, what would finally wake us up? Do you think an invasion, or them landing on the White House lawn or something?
Some big event like Wall Street or 9/11.
Wow. I mean, I can't even foresee anything like that happening, but you never know, I guess.
Well, did you see Wall Street?
I was gonna say I didn't foresee either one of those. So maybe Wall Street, but not.
There could be an alien attack like going on right now somewhere, and we just hear it. You never know.
We're not connected to the internet right now, so we'd never know. Now, your website itself, for people to take a look and get more information, is UFOconspiracy.com. I noticed the book publisher, going back to the aviary thing, is Peregrine. Is there any significance behind that? I have to ask.
Well, the Peregrine Peregrine Communications goes back to the days of Bill and Jamie Chandra.
Okay.
I use the same name that Jamie Chandra used.
Okay. So no significance with the aviary or anything like that?
Well, yeah. Well, the aviary was functionary back then, but it was his own little group that he started, so I just kept the name.
Okay. Now, on that website, you can find a link to look more at the book and to buy the book, and some different articles and so forth. The book itself is exempt from disclosure. The Black World of UFOs. This is the second edition of the book, and I do have to say I really enjoyed the fact that you threw in a copy of an errata sheet to add more information that when it was sent. Is that always sent out with every book?
Yeah, it goes. Yeah, the errata sheet goes out with every book, and it gives more updated, current information that goes beyond that book.
And so, I just like the fact that you're continuously updating, continuously digging into this. Do you see a third edition of the book coming out in the future?
Yeah, maybe sometime way down the road.
Okay.
Somewhere in there. Yeah.
All right, great. Well, we're gonna keep in touch. Running out of time tonight, but go out and buy the book. I'm just looking through it right now. I know I'm gonna have.
Yeah, Nick's been skimming through this thing, and I mean, it's got so much information that, like, I mean, one right after the other, the questions come, and Nick will look at a page and go, "What?" and then be able to ask a question.
Yeah,
I mean, that's how chocked full of information this book is, and it's not like one of these huge, like, 4-inch thick, 400-pound, books. I mean, it looks like it can be a good read, day read, and it's just information. Like you said, it's got pictures. It's got a
lot of the documents and stuff. So very well researched.
Yeah, some people who buy the book and say it's written by aliens is because they read it too fast.
I was going to say, even on your errata sheet, it says, I like the note because that's what I was saying about the speed reading. A reader cannot speed read this book. Having a basic science background would be helpful. And I know on Amazon, there's the people that read it real quick, and you can't believe, and then other ones are like, well, no, you actually know something about what your, science before you go into this. There was a lot of those comments that, you have to have a background before you even try to go into it to know what you're talking about. So,
right. Yeah, right. Yeah.
But
and the people who do go through it don't like it, and they tell me they think it's written by aliens. So.
Well, then, if you're out there and you like aliens, come get this book. It's written by one.
Now, is there any truth to that? Did you have a?
Are you a hybrid?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
All right. Well, great. Well, we'll have to have you back on the show in the future. Kind of get some updates and talk about all this. We probably barely scratched the surface, I'm sure.
Yeah, so, we want to thank you very, very much for joining us today. I'm getting a little tongue-tied.
All right, and the book is exempt from disclosure. The Black World of UFOs. His name's Robert Collins. Written with Richard C. Doty. So it's on Amazon. Go get it.
Go get it.
All right, thank you, Mr. Collins.
Okay, well, thank you.
Hey, see ya.
Have a good night there.
You too.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye. Lola?
Yes.
Hello, my dear.
Hello.
You going to get that book?
Well, if Nick reads it, it'll be here. So I'd kind of like to look at some of the official documents that he has.
And that's the thing I always loved. You get these books sometimes that are just full of stuff, and it's like, okay, they get this like huge aliens landing in my front yard, and I talked to them. We had dinner, and I'm thinking, they're there. Why didn't you get a picture? But there's like, oh well, the camera messed up, and
it's the darndest thing. My camera stopped working right as they did it.
But when you actually have something, proof, like hard proof, that's when you start going, oh, okay, and you start connecting the dots. You start, and there's a lot of stuff. He's got pictures of the different members of MJ12 in here, kind of the little bit of background behind them, different documents and so forth about executive briefings and so forth. So, I'm going to have to dig into it. I wish I'd got it this Saturday. I would have been able to get through the book, but that's the things that happen with the mail.
Yeah.
So and he tried to get it to me as fast as possible. It's going to happen, but
and like you were saying with having the camera ready, for some kind of evidence. It reminds me when we had the Phoenix Lights. Dr. Lynn Kitai. She said it was like consecutive, like on a certain day, her and her husband would see these lights, so they decided to plant cameras all around like the doors and windows and stuff. That way, no matter what happened, they could always just reach back and grab one, and that's how they got all the evidence they did. I thought that was kind of neat.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
preparedness, people. Yeah. If you know you get abducted every 7 years.
Well, like you're saying, that one guy gets abducted every week. I would be installing camera, but then again, they maybe, if they're coming from across the universe or whatever, they probably know a way to get the cameras to cut off. I'm just saying.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I mean.
Okay, all right, gentlemen, it is time.
Lola's tired of us, getting rid of us. Yes.
That's because she hasn't seen us. She doesn't know she misses us.
Lola,
yet.
We're going to say this real quick. We're enjoying some very good homemade chips.
Homemade chips.
And you're going to hate us because they're so good.
Thank you for that.
Well, we're gonna.
Now she's mad.
We're gonna bring you something next week. We have to make sure we bring something for Lola. We have to appease.
If nothing comes, it's Nick's fault. If nothing comes, it's Nick's fault.
I will whip something up because I have to appease Lola for doing that.
Who we got next week, Nikki?
Next week we have Manuel Navarrete. He'll be talking to us, and I hope I'm saying that last name. He's probably cursing me right now. I can't do the accents, but he's going to be talking to us about the implant that just got taken out.
Remember we had him on not too long ago about getting an implant removed.
So he's got the pictures. He's going to be talking to us about the surgery and what he found and a bunch of other stuff.
Talk to the doctor.
Yeah, that would be true.
Yeah, I would like to talk to the doctor and to some kind of real techie that when they look at this implant, they can tell you if it's.
Well, I'll ask him about that. You never know. Maybe we can make get something like that put together.
We can get a conference call.
Manuel, you know my number. Call me and tell me if it can be done. I'm excited. That's a good. Lola, you're on top of the ball. That is a good idea.
That's why we keep her around.
Oh, thank you.
That and we wouldn't sound good.
That and everybody listens because of you.
Yeah.
We will be back in the studio next week. We can't wait.
Be able to talk to Pow Talk people. They're probably.
I know.
We're kind of missing them.
We miss you guys.
Hopefully they're missing us.
Come out to the market house. Why? Because they got some good food and they got some great people that work here. Until next week, don't be afraid. Only believe.